Hi, I'm Barbara Evers, and I've been teaching Excel for over 20 years.
I'm Christina Tankersley, and I'm here to learn about power functions.
That's wonderful. We are going to spend some time looking at several functions that you may or may not be familiar with, but I'm going to show you some powerful things you can do.
I'm excited.
Prior to getting into the functions, we want to talk about a few things concerning functions. For example, syntax.
Okay.
So I'm going to come into this spreadsheet that I have open right now. You'll notice I've got some product numbers and inventory information and so forth. And the value field, I'm going to just put in a function here. I'll just use some product right now. So I'm typing, of course the function shows up. We're familiar with that. And if I double click, it's here.
So how do I find the syntax?
This is the syntax right here. But a lot of times people look at this and don't really know what they're looking at. So we're first going to click right here on the function. Notice I have a hyperlink. And it'll open up help from Excel. So as you can see here, we have the syntax. Now I'm not going to go into what this function does right now because we're going to cover it in another module. But you can see kind of the layout and the definition of the different parts of the function.
So I noticed that some of these have brackets around them. Does that make them different?
Yes, it does. That means it's optional. You don't necessarily have to use that within the function.
Okay.
And notice I'm still in the process of inputting my information. And another place I can go to find out about this function is up here on my formula bar using the Insert Function button. So I've already accepted the function into the cell, so I'm going to click on FX, and you'll notice we get the function arguments dialog box, which I'm sure you've seen before. And down here you get the definition of the function, and it tells you what that particular argument represents. Okay, so I'm going to just come out of here. Just to complete this, I'm going to go in here, and I'm actually going to have array 1 and a comma, and then a second array, and I'll hit enter, and it has multiplied that out. Okay. And then I can copy this down, and you'll see that we have the values for everything.
Okay.
Now, we just created a formula that calculates the value of the wholesale inventory. Whenever I create formulas within Excel using functions, the biggest issue people have is getting the arguments in there correctly. This function here in cell F6 multiplies, so it's not really a true-false type of answer. But there are a lot of functions within Excel that do this. So let's look at this one, because we have an if function in here. Basically what an if function does is it checks for a condition. In this case, the condition is in this nested formula here. And if this is true, then it's going to produce a particular answer. So it says, is it true? Put this in the cell.
Okay.
If it's false, put this in the cell. So in this case, you notice anything different in this function?
Well, it looks a little interesting with all those question marks.
Right. Now we have wildcards in Excel. So the question mark typically represents one character. You have an asterisk, which represents multiple characters, and you have the tilde, which can represent a specific character. So what we have here is the question marks. And so each one of these represents a character. So what it's telling it is look in cell A6 over here, our product number, and you'll notice there are 6 question marks there. So it's saying, is A6 a 6 character entry?
Okay.
It's not. So that's a false. So if it's false, we put closeout in the cell here. Now, if it is a 6 character entry, like down here in A8, then we leave it blank. So you'll notice the function is down here in this cell also. I have copied it down. Now, where would we use this? Maybe in our organization, our older product numbers were lower numbers of digits. They're 5 digits. And as we've gotten more quality products, we've gone with a 6-digit identification. So this would be a way to find the older inventory. So you can use the wildcards to help you find something. Another thing we would use it for is maybe we're looking for a particular item, but we don't know how to spell it. Maybe I'm looking for your name, Christina, but I don't know if it's spelled with a K or a C, but I know it's got S-T-I-N-A at the end. I could look for asterisk S-T-I-N-A or whatever I think, and that way I would find anything that would meet that, which ultimately you would hopefully be in there. Now, that doesn't mean I won't find other things too.
Sure.
But wildcards are useful for trying to find information that fits a certain pattern or where you're not exactly sure how it was input into the cell.
Are those the only 3 wildcards that we can use in our syntax?
Yes.
Okay.
So you have the question mark the asterisk, and then the tilde. And the tilde, just as a sidebar, what that does is, let's say I'm looking for something that has a 9 at the end, and it always has a 9 at the end. I can do tilde 9, and it knows to look for things that have the 9 at the end.
Oh.
And I can do asterisk tilde 9. It can be any number of characters.
In between.
So as you can see, a well-crafted function will help you use your data most effectively.
I'm really excited about the wildcards. I can use those in so many functions.